1. Ajita's questions. By what is the world enveloped? Why does it not become clear? What do you say is its defilement? What is the world's great fear? The world is enveloped by ignorance. Because of heedlessness and meanness it does not become clear. Hunger is its defilement, I say. Suffering is the world's great fear. Streams are flowing everywhere. What is the constraint for streams? Tell me the restraint for streams. By what are the streams shut off? Whatever streams there are in the world, mindfulness is the constraint for them. That is the restraint for streams, I say. By wisdom they are shut off. Wisdom and mindfulness and name and form, dear sir, please tell me this when asked. Where do these things cease? This question that was asked, Ajita, I can answer it. As to where name and form ceases without remainder, with the cessation of consciousness, in this place it ceases. Those who have discerned the teaching and the many in training here, when I ask the prudent one, please tell me their conduct, dear sir. He should not be greedy for sense pleasures or be disturbed in mind, being skillful in all things, mindfully the monk should wander. Two, Tisametta's questions. Who is satisfied here in the world? For whom is there no turmoil? Who is the wise man who has known both ends and is undefiled in the middle? Who do you say is a great man who has gone beyond the seamstress here? He who is chaste in regard to sense pleasures, free from craving, always mindful, having discernment, the monk is emancipated. For him there is no turmoil. He is the wise man who has known both ends, who is undefiled in the middle. He, I say, is a great man. He has gone beyond the seamstress here. 3. Punyaka's questions. To the one who is unmoved, who sees the root, I have come in need with a question. On account of what did the seers and men, nobles and Brahmins here in the world offer many sacrifices to the gods? I ask you, gracious one, please tell this to me. Whoever of those seers and men, nobles and Brahmins here in the world offered many sacrifices to the gods, they did so yearning, Punyaka, for mundane existence. On account of old age, they offered sacrifices. Whoever of those seers and men, nobles and Brahmins here in the world offered many sacrifices to the gods, gracious one, perhaps those heedful of the path of sacrifice have crossed over birth and old age, dear sir. I ask you, gracious one, please tell this to me. They yearn and they praise, they hunger and they offer, they hunger for sense pleasures. Because of gain they engage in sacrifice, excited by the passion for existence. They have not crossed over birth and old age, I say. If those engaged in sacrifice have not crossed over birth and old age by their sacrifices, dear sir, then just who in the world of the gods and men have crossed over birth and old age, dear sir? I ask you, gracious one, please explain this to me. The one who is discerned far and near in the world, who has no turmoil anywhere in the world, who is peaceful, not incensed, troubled or yearning, he has crossed over birth and old age, I say. 4. Mettagu's questions. I ask you, gracious one, please tell this to me. I think you have true understanding and a developed self. How have those countless kinds of suffering arisen for those who are in the world? You ask me about the origin of suffering. As I know it, I will declare it to you. Because of clinging to a basis, countless kinds of suffering originate for those who are in the world. The foolish one without wisdom clings to a basis, and comes to suffering again, the fool. Therefore, knowing this, do not cling to a basis, seeing the birth and origin of suffering. You have proclaimed to us what we asked you about. Another thing we ask, please answer. How do the wise ones cross over the flood of birth, old age, grief and lamentation? Please explain this to me, O sage, for this teaching has been understood by you. I shall proclaim the teaching to you, which is not hearsay in this world, which having understood and living mindfully, one can cross over clinging to the world. I greatly rejoice in that supreme teaching, great seer, which having understood and living mindfully, one can cross over clinging to the world. Whatever you know, above, below, and across the middle, dispel the enjoyment of and settling on these things, and consciousness, and one will not remain in existence. Living in this way, mindful and heedful, the monk who lives on after giving up loved things can, being wise, give up birth, old age, grief, lamentation, and suffering right here. I greatly rejoice in this, the great seer's word, O Gautama. Well proclaimed is freedom from clinging. Surely the gracious one gave up suffering, for this teaching has been understood by you. Surely they too can give up suffering, whomever you would continually advise. Therefore, having met with the strong one, I revere him. Perhaps the gracious one could always advise me. You should know the Brahmin who has true understanding, who has nothing and is not clinging to sense existence, for he has surely crossed over the flood. Without hindrance or doubt he has crossed beyond. That man here who is wise and has true understanding, who has released the shackle of repeated existence, he is craving free, not troubled, not yearning. He has crossed over birth and old age, I say. 5. Dotika's questions. I ask you, gracious one, please tell this to me. I am waiting for a word of yours, great seer. Having heard your utterance, I could train for my own nibbana. Then you must become ardent, being prudent and mindful right here. Henceforth, after hearing this utterance, you should train for your own nibbana. I see in the world with its gods and men a Brahmin who moves about having nothing. Therefore I revere you, visionary one. O Sakyan, please free me from my doubts. I am unable to free anyone in the world who is having doubts, Dotika, but knowing Nibbana the best thing, in this way you can cross over the flood. Brahmin, being compassionate, teach the state of detachment that I should know. Then I, being undisturbed, just like the sky, may live peacefully and independent right here. I shall proclaim the peace to you, which is not hearsay here in this world, which, having understood and living mindfully, one can cross over clinging to the world. I greatly rejoice in that supreme peace, great seer, which having understood and living mindfully, one can cross over clinging to the world. Whatever you know, above, below, and across the middle, having understood that this is called a shackle in the world, you must not have craving for repeated existence. Six. Upasiva's questions. Alone, Sakyan, with nothing to depend on, I am unable to cross over the great flood. Please tell me of a support, visionary one, depending on which I can cross over this flood. Looking to nothingness and being mindful, depending on nothing, cross over the flood. Having given up sense pleasures, abstaining from talk, day and night you must look for the end of suffering. He who is passionless regarding all sense pleasures, who is depending on nothingness, having given up all else, intent on the highest freedom which still has perception, will he remain there without going away? He who is passionless regarding all sense pleasures, who is dependent on nothingness, having given up all else, intent on the highest freedom which still has perception, he will remain there without going away. If he remains there without going away for a great number of years, visionary one, will he become cool and free right there, or will the consciousness of such a one fall away? As a flame overthrown by the force of the wind goes to rest and can no longer be discerned, just so the sage free from the mental body goes to rest and can no longer be discerned. The one who has come to rest, is he then nothing, or is he eternally healthy? Please explain this to me, sage, for this teaching has been understood by you. There is no measure of the one who has come to rest. There is nothing by which they can speak of him. When everything has been completely removed, all the pathways for speech are also completely removed. Seven. Nanda's questions. There are sages in the world. That is what the people say. How is this so? Do they say he is a sage because he has knowledge, or because of the life that he leads? Not by view, tradition, or knowledge do the skillful ones say one is a sage, Nanda. Whoever lives without company, not troubled, not yearning, they are sages, I say. Whoever among these ascetics and Brahmins say that purity is through what is seen or heard, say that purity is through virtue and practices, say that purity is through countless other ways, gracious one, perhaps those living restrained in this way have crossed over birth and old age, dear sir. I ask you, gracious one, please tell this to me. Whoever among these ascetics and Brahmins say that purity is through what is seen or heard, say that purity is through virtue and practices, say that purity is through countless other ways, although they are living restrained in this way, they have not crossed over birth and old age, I say. Whoever among these ascetics and Brahmins say that purity is through what is seen or heard, say that purity is through virtue and practices, say that purity is through countless other ways, if you say these sages have not crossed the flood, then just who in the world of the gods and men have crossed over birth and old age, dear sir? I ask you, gracious one, please tell this to me. I do not say that all ascetics and Brahmins are enveloped in birth and old age. Whoever here has given up reliance on what is seen and heard or sensed, and virtue and practices, and has also given up all the countless other ways, who by fully knowing craving are pollutant-free, I say those men have crossed over the flood. I greatly rejoice in the great seer's word, Gautama, well proclaimed is freedom from clinging. Whoever has given up reliance on what is seen, heard, or sensed, and virtue and practices, and has also given up all the countless other ways, who by fully knowing craving are pollutant-free, I also say they have crossed over the flood. 8. Hemika's questions. Those who explained things to me in the past, before Gautama's teaching, saying, it was so and so it will be, all that was just hearsay, all that just increased my thoughts, and I did not find delight therein. You must explain the teaching to me, sage, and the destruction of craving, which, having understood and living mindfully, one can cross over clinging to the world. In regard to likeable forms, seen, heard, sensed and cognized, Hemika, the dispelling of desire and passion for them, this is the undying Nibbana. Knowing this, those who are mindful, who are emancipated in this very life, those who are always peaceful, have crossed over clinging to the world. 9. Todeya's questions. He who has no sense desires, he in whom no craving is found, he who crossed beyond doubts, what kind of freedom is there for him? He who has no sense desires, he in whom no craving is found, he who is crossed beyond doubts, there is no further freedom for him. Is he without yearning, or is he still yearning? Is he wise, or still acquiring wisdom? I would know just what the sage is like, Sakyan. Explain that to me, visionary one. He is without yearning, he is not still yearning. He is wise, he is not still acquiring wisdom. Know that the sage is just like this, Todeya. He has nothing and is not clinging to sense existence. 10. Kappa's questions. For those standing in the middle of a lake when a fearful flood has arisen, for those overcome by old age and death, speak about an island, dear sir. You must explain an island to me, so there will be no more after this. For those standing in the middle of a lake when a fearful flood has arisen, for those overcome by old age and death, I speak about an island, Kappa. Having nothing, no attachment, this is the island with nothing beyond. This is called Nibbana, I say, the end of old age and death. Knowing this, those who are mindful, who are emancipated in this very life, come not under Mara's control. They are not servants to Mara. 11. Jatukani's questions. Having heard of a hero who has no desire for pleasure, I came to ask that desireless one who is beyond the flood, please speak of the state of peace. As it really is, gracious one, please tell me this. The gracious one moves about having vanquished sense pleasures as the splendid sun vanquishes the earth with its splendour. To me, of little wisdom, one of great wisdom, explain the teaching so that I may know the complete giving up of birth and old age here. Remove the greed for sense pleasures, having seen there is safety in renunciation. Let there be nothing found in you that has been taken up or is still to be put down. You should erase that which is past and have nothing for the future. If you take up nothing in the present, you will live peacefully. For one altogether without greed for name and form, O Brahmin, no pollutants are found whereby he can come under death's control. 12. Bhadrawada's questions. The one who left home, the craving cutter, the unmoved one, the enjoyment leaver, the flood crosser, the one who is free, the one who left off speculation, the intelligent one, him I beg. After hearing the strong one, they will go away from here. Various people have come from the countries and are waiting for your saying, heroic one. You must explain the teaching to them properly, for this teaching has been understood by you. You must remove all attachment to craving, above, below, and across the middle, for with whatever they are attached to in the world, with just that Mara follows a man. Therefore, knowing this, the mindful monk should not be attached to anything in the world, seeing that with what is called attachment and clinging, these people are clinging to the realm of death. 13. Udaya's questions. To the meditator who sits dust-free, with duty done, pollutant-free, who is perfect in all things, I have come in need with a question. Please tell of freedom through knowledge, the breaking up of ignorance. The giving up of sensual desire and of sorrow, these two, the dispelling of sloth and constraint of worry about wrongdoing, purity through equanimity and mindfulness, preceded by thought of impermanent things, this I call freedom through knowledge, the breaking up of ignorance. By what is the world fettered? By what does it roam about? By completely giving up what is that thing called Nibbana. The world is fettered by enjoyment, it roams about through reflections. By completely giving up craving, there is that thing called Nibbana. For he who lives mindfully, how is it consciousness ceases? We have come to ask the Gracious One, therefore may we hear a word of yours. Without rejoicing over feeling on the inside or outside, for he who lives mindfully in this way, consciousness surely ceases. (14) Posala's questions. To the one who points out the past, the unmoved one who has cut off doubt, who is perfect in everything, I have come in need with a question. For the one in whom perception of form has ended, who on the inside and outside is seeing there is nothing whatsoever, I ask about his knowledge, Sakyan. How is such a one led further? All the stations of consciousness the realized one knows. He knows where that one stands, what he is intent on, what he is going towards. Having known the origin of nothingness and that enjoyment is called a fetter, knowing deeply that it is so, and then having insight into this is real knowledge for him, for the Brahmin who is accomplished. 15. Mogaraja's questions. Twice I asked the Sakyan, but the visionary did not reply. If asked up to a third time, the divine seer will answer, so I have heard. This world, the other world, the Brahma world with its gods, one does not know what view of this the reputable Gautama has. So to the one with excellent sight, I have come in need with a question. Looking on the world, in what way does the king of death not see one? Look on the world as empty, Mogaraja, being always mindful. Having removed wrong view of self, in this way one will cross beyond death. When looking on the world in this way, the king of death does not see one. (16) Pingya's questions. I am old, without strength, with poor complexion. My eyes are unclear and hearing is difficult. May I indeed not perish a fool midway. Explain the teaching so that I may know how to give up birth and old age. Having seen people struck down amid forms, and that the heedless are pained amid forms, being heedful, Pingya, you must give up form and not come into existence again. The 4 directions, the 4 intermediate directions, above and below, in these 10 directions there is nothing for you that is unseen, unheard, unsensed, or uncognized in the world. Explain the teaching so that I may know the complete giving up of birth and old age. Seeing human beings, victims of craving, are tormented and overcome by decay, being heedful, Pingya, you must give up craving and not come into existence again.